here we go. Let's put this now. There, that, and here we go. Excellent. All right, so welcome again to another education class here on Xeno Mining, your Web3 educator and host, Ken Candelas, or the Mad Composer. You can call me Ken, that's totally fine. I don't mind being doxxed here. So this is our subject for today, Litecoin and Dogecoin. Anybody here heard of these two different types of cryptos? Of course, huh? Okay, so that's a good thing, right? And I'm saying this for, I mean, I'm sure everybody has heard of something here before of either Litecoin or especially Dogecoin. But it's really actually very important that we actually address that. I want to have everybody here know that one of the reasons why we mine these two coins is because they are very well known. And so let's get into it. Litecoin. All right, let's start there. Litecoin is a decentralized digital currency, right? Just like all of our other coins that we've talked about before. It was actually created in 2011 by a man named Charlie Lee, who was actually a former Google engineer. And he actually became a Coinbase advisor at some point. And Litecoin was actually created to be similar to Bitcoin. And it was sort of different in the way that they wanted to make it to process transactions faster and also have a more efficient mining process to Bitcoin. Now, Litecoin does not use the same algorithm as Bitcoin, despite it being very similar to it. Bitcoin uses SHA-256 mining algorithm, where we use Script for Litecoin, and allows for quicker block generation times and encourages a wider participation in the mining community. And when we say larger mining community, Litecoin in the beginning was designed to actually be ASIC resistant. Now, funny enough, we have many ASICs on Litecoin nowadays, but it was a more complex algorithm to create ASICs for. And so it was a little bit easier to actually, mine Litecoin in the beginning. And actually, it's easier to mine Litecoin personally than if you were to just, go up straight with Bitcoin, right? You can't mine Bitcoin on a CPU anymore, at least not profitably anyway. So with an increased block size and faster block generation times, Litecoin aims to provide a more scalable and accessible cryptocurrency option. Now, you might be thinking, well, Litecoin, yeah, that's great, but there's so many other like blockchains out there that are even faster or even more scalable, and you'd be right. But we'll get to why Litecoin's actually important. So while it shares many similarities with Bitcoin, Litecoin has gained popularity to its faster transaction speeds and lower transaction fees as well, making it a popular choice for everyday transactions and viable alternative for individuals seeking a digital currency with quicker settlement times. Litecoin is commonly referred to as the digital silver compared to Bitcoin's digital gold, right? You've probably maybe even heard of this before, it being the digital silver. I don't know about you. I've used Litecoin many times for transaction between, exchanges or something of that sort, right? If I wanted to go from Coinbase to like KuCoin. Most of the time, I personally use Algorand, but if you use Litecoin, Litecoin's another really good option as well. Anybody here ever done that before? Use Litecoin to go between exchanges or something like that? No? Everybody uses Ethereum or something? You, sir, are a noob. Yeah, well, a lot of people for their first time will probably have that experience, though, right? Which actually is an interesting point. For Litecoin to be accessible in a way for newbies is really important for mass adoption. Am I right or am I wrong? Feel free to chime in on that. I see multiple people typing here. Yes, Aaron Merge Minds. Yes, well, you are our resident mining consultant. So LTC, it actually is one of the better coins to mine for sure. And again, we'll get into more of this. I'm actually pretty excited about that. Let's dive in. Here are some Litecoin's key features. Okay, faster transaction confirmations. Litecoin offers faster block generation times, allowing for quicker transaction confirmations compared to Bitcoin. It's got a script algorithm, right? Litecoin mining is still one of the most profitable ventures as a mining farm can partake in today, despite its initial efforts, to be ASIC resistant. Also has an increased block size, so with a larger block, it can handle higher volume of transactions for more scalable and efficient, rewards. Speed and efficiency, faster block generation time, about 2.5 minutes, enables quicker transaction confirmations and lower transaction fees. Because it has faster block confirmation time and increased block size, it also has lower transaction fees against Bitcoin. And it's much more widely accepted. Litecoin is supported by numerous exchanges, merchants, and online platforms, increasing its acceptance and usability. That's a big one, right? I don't know about you, but whenever I see, other types of, third-party payment systems like Venmo or PayPal, I don't know about you, but Litecoin's one of the options, right? That's a big deal here. So we got to root for LTC. Love that. A little bit of its history here. It was actually an open source client on GitHub, released on October 7th, 2011. By Charlie Lee, right? Of course, a forming engineering director at Coinbase. I think I may have said advisor, but he was actually the engineering director. So Litecoin Network went live on October 13th, 2011, and it was a fork of the Bitcoin Core client, differing primarily by having a decreased block generation time, 2.5 minutes, increased maximum number of coins, and a different hashing algorithm using script instead of SHA-256, and a slightly modified GUI, right? Graphical user interface. I see somebody has a mic on. Is there a question here waiting for me or something? Okay. Who's that? Let's put this here. Okay, so during the month of November 2013, the aggregate value of Litecoin experienced massive growth, which included a 100% leap within 24 hours. And in May 2017, Litecoin became the first of the top 5 by market cap cryptocurrencies to adopt segregated witness. If you remember, we talked about segregated witness if you were in our Bitcoin class. Anybody remember what segregated witness was about? I'll give you guys a second to think about that. Let's see how much you retain information. Let's see. Worry Dice. A movie with Harrison Ford. No, it's not a movie with Harrison Ford. But segregated witness is basically removing the wallet information outside of the block information, okay? So it's kind of, if you remember the analogy that I gave, it's basically like all the information that is in a folder, right? You have a binder, if you want to use that analogy, a binder. And your segregated witness wallet addresses are all in a table of contents, right? And that table of contents, each one of those wallet addresses points to the folder with all the transaction information, right? So it was able to make all of this information go faster for Bitcoin, okay? More scalable. And we have this sort of adaptation, into Litecoin as well. So later in May of the same year, the first Lightning Network transaction was completed through Litecoin, transferring a fraction of a Litecoin, as you can see here, from Zurich to San Francisco in under 1 second, right? So Litecoin is one of the few blue chip cryptocurrencies that also doesn't have a white paper. That's an interesting fact. So Litecoin was just one of those things. It just, you had to accept it for what it was. You couldn't really do all the research that you wanted to see of behind the scenes. You would actually have to just go into the core code itself. Litecoin is stored in your digital wallet, of course. specialist hardware device or online crypto bank, you can manage, store, and send fractions of a coin to anyone else who has a wallet, no matter where they are, what time it is. As Litecoin's network never sleeps, and Litecoin has can be spent through many different forms, such as hardware wallets. I personally use a Ledger, although I know Ledger has a whole thing about it right now, but you know, we'll see how that pans out. I'm not making any brash decisions just yet. We also have mobile wallets, web wallets, desktop wallets, Lightning Network. Yeah, if you didn't know, Lightning Network is not just for Bitcoin. It's also here for Litecoin. Also, we can use Litecoin with debit cards and also directly to make purchases with Pay with LTC. Any questions so far? How are we doing? Cool. Excellent. Yep. I'm going to talk about tokenomics. So here are some of the things that Litecoin has with its tokenomics. So token supply, we have a maximum supply limit of 84 million coins. Okay, no more, no less. 4 times the supply of Bitcoin. This larger supply was allowing for wider distribution and accessibility. The block rewards are, you know, of course, miners are rewarded with a certain amount of Litecoins for successfully mining a new block. And we also have a 4-year halving process. Initially, the block reward was 50 LTC per block, which, fun fact, was the same amount as every Bitcoin per block, right? So, and it has halved several times over the past years. We actually have a Litecoin halving coming up on August 2nd. So we're very close to that date. If things are getting very exciting about Litecoin because of that, you know, so we should see some price action movement look with the LTC halving. Transaction fees, users conducting transactions with Litecoin also pay a small fee. These fees serve as an incentive for miners to include transactions in the block they mine, and the fees vary depending on the network congestion. We also have scarcity. We have a limited supply and a decreasing block reward over time. So Litecoin has a more deflationary nature as it's growing, right? So over time, kind of similar to the ethos with Bitcoin, as it grows over time in more awareness and popularity, demand for it will become to increase. Here's the same situation with Litecoin. Market dynamics as well. We have to play into the narrative. It's not just enough for Litecoin to be a deflationary coin. It also needs to gain more traction. And being that Litecoin is very much in the forefront on the battle lines, so to speak, with the general public, we have to, stand behind it, right? Support it. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin too. We'll get to that. These are very important coins out there that need the support of Web3 and mass adoption, of course. Decentralized governance, very similar to kind of how Bitcoin is governed. And if you remember, we talked about Bitcoin having to need sort of like a open forum type of discussion on any sort of improvement protocol or improvement proposal. These sort of things exist for Litecoin as well. People will have to essentially do the same thing. They would install on Litecoin nodes any sort of improvement proposal. And if the majority of people install that on the nodes, then it will take effect onto the entire network. Some of the upgrades that we've seen Litecoin implement are actually Taproot. Same thing like Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin used Taproot in order to become able to use things like ordinals. And so does Litecoin. So if you didn't know, Litecoin has the ability to do ordinals as well. We also have SegWit as far as 2017. So we have an increase in network efficiency, lower costs of complex transactions, introducing new developer capabilities, Also improving on user privacy. That's a very, very big one we're going to get into very shortly, and allow us for less intrusive future upgrades. That's what Taproot is for. Litecoin used an upgrade to improve user privacy called MWeb, or Mimblewimble is the actual term. It's a Harry Potter term, if you didn't know, which will be the largest upgrade for Litecoin from, and also separate Litecoin from Bitcoin very significantly here. In the past, one of the only things that we were able to really use for privacy was a cryptocurrency known by the name of Monero, and you may have heard of Monero. And Litecoin has now kind of introduced a privacy feature very, very similar to Monero. So now that we have ordinals on Litecoin and we have privacy on Litecoin, which is also an optional feature, you don't have to choose to make something private if you don't want to. That's one of the really, really interesting benefits of Litecoin. Let's talk about Mimblewimble a little bit more. So it was actually named after that tongue-tying spell in Harry Potter. Very, very appropriate. And is a privacy and scalability upgrade deployed on Lightning Network. So it was originally proposed for Bitcoin, but it never actually passed. And so the primary purpose of Mimblewimble is to provide transaction privacy. Blockchains such as Litecoin are highly transparent by default, since the sender and recipient addresses, as well as the amount being sent, is revealed in every transaction, which, of course, is a privacy concern, right? If you don't want anybody really tracking your, your transactions, that's very understandable, right? Even though we look to blockchain for a very open public ledger, which is super, super important for many, many things, there are certain instances where privacy is an issue, right? So in the interest of those who seek privacy, Mimblewimble was implemented. So to make use of Mimblewimble's optional privacy preserving technology, Litecoin users can move their Litecoins into extension blocks. Okay, we call them extension blocks. Conceptually, these can be thought of as forming a parallel blockchain to the main Litecoin chain. Technically, however, these extension blocks exist within each Litecoin block. Think of it as putting a shroud, okay? A shroud over your transactions by having it on a private blockchain, right? Again, if you remember, if you came to our Cadena blockchain, right, discussion, we had this discussion of private blockchains, having them parallel to the main chain for private transactions, then coming back onto the main chain by the user's will, right? And the difference between Cadena and Mimblewimble is, well, Cadena was still open source, so you can still see the transaction data, except that it was removed from the public blockchain and was put on a private blockchain. We call that Kuro, or you could call it Pact. It's all the same. Then you can move it back if you want transparency with the public. In this case, this is a private blockchain that is completely unique to the transaction itself, okay? So we're just kind of like taking it from the main chain and we're saying, all right, let's put it in this lane. And then when it goes to the other person, that other person will be able to decode it. However, along the way, it will be hidden under that private blockchain for the public, okay? I hope that makes sense. So any transaction conducted within these blocks will be concealing the addresses and the amounts involved from everyone except those involved in the transaction, enabling more users with transaction privacy than they could easily achieve on the main blockchain. So users can also then move their LTC out from extension blocks and onto the main chain to conduct transparent transactions as well, okay? So you can go between the two. It's not like you have to dedicate only to one. It's not like everyone is always going to be using Mimblewimble. It's only if you want to, right? And so let's talk about how to use it, right? Mimblewimble, this is cool. Moving funds into extension blocks is something called pegging in, and removing funds back to the main transparent chain is called pegging out. So if you want to send funds using extension blocks, you basically must create a specific pegging in transaction or send to a special Mimblewimble extension block address. Basically, it's an address with LTCWMEB1 in front of it, okay? In which case, the miner will then create the pegging in transaction on their behalf, okay? So that's kind of the idea, right? So you basically just add to the address, I want to use this, right? LTCWMWeb1, right? Or WMEB1, whatever. And there it will tell the miner, okay, let's process this as a MWeb transaction. Now, these pegging in transactions are processed by a transaction in the same block called the HOGX. Hogwarts Express, right? I love this whole thing. Clearly people are fans of Harry Potter for this, right? So I love that. Which then allows the user to transact with these Litecoins within the next extension block. So to remove funds from the extension block, the user creates a pegging out transaction by sending funds to a non-privacy preserving Litecoin address. They can then move the funds after 6 block confirmations and 6 blocks being processed on top of their blocks their transaction is in. These pegging out transactions are also processed in the blocks HOGX. Any questions so far? You know, I think the only reference here to Harrison Ford worry is that maybe the composer John Williams did Harry Potter and Indiana Jones. Maybe there's your link. Just nerding out here as a composer, so. Excellent. Witness movie. Yes, okay. Yes, I actually forgot about that. He did that. Right. Let's see here. Final component of the HOGX transaction is the movement of the extension block, or the balance, from one block to the next. As such, the HOGX moves the balance, tops it up with any new pegging in transactions, and reduces it for any pegging out transactions. So it's kind of like basically, you know, when you do MWeb, right, you're going to essentially put your your transaction on the Hogwarts Express, right? And the Hogwarts Express is the magical train, right? It's going to go all the way to the other side, make sure it drops everything off, right? You have to, how do you get into the Hogwarts Express? Anybody, any Harry Potter nerds out there? What do you have to do in order to get onto the Hogwarts Express? Very specific place you have to go. Anybody remember? I'll give you guys a second. Yes, platform 9 3/4, right? So platform 9 3/4, you can only go through platform 9 3/4 through a hidden wall, right? So it's kind of the same thing here, right? You're on a regular train station and you're like, hey man, I hear there's a secret train station. You go in through the magical wall, now you're in Hogwarts Express land, right? You get into Hogwarts Express, it goes on the train, goes to the other side, right? Which goes, what's the station? Hogsmeade or something like that. And now you can then process all your transactions within the privacy of Hogwarts, okay? So just kind of an interesting way how they reference it. I think it's actually a very good analogy, right? Of having this magical world be parallel to the real world, okay? It's the same idea. All right, the implementation of Mimblewimble incorporated to Litecoin makes use of a number of technologies in order to ensure privacy. Yes, we are all wizards. Confidential transactions keeps the amount transferred visible only to participants in the transaction, while still cryptographically guaranteeing that no more coins can be spent than are available. All right. Conjoin acts like a mixer to conceal the sender of particular transactions by combining multiple inputs from different parties into a single transaction. Wow. And you may have heard of a mixer before. If you haven't, there's a very famous one called Tornado Cash, right? And a lot of hackers were using Tornado Cash. This was on the Ethereum blockchain for hiding hacking certain things. And this is sort of a similar technology that we're using here for Mimblewimble. Stealth addresses conceal the recipient of a transaction through single-use addresses that cannot be seen on the blockchain without corresponding viewing keys. And in Litecoin, these stealth addresses begin with LTC MWeb1, right? So, kind of interesting to think, right? I just mentioned, hacking. So is this a good thing? Is this a moral thing to do? Well, here's the thing, right? Technology exists whether you like it or not, right? The same people who were, trying to use nuclear power to create energy also use the same technology to create bombs, right? So it's just the two sides of the same coin. Always just try to think about it that way. Just because we have technology that can do this doesn't mean that it's inherently bad or made for a sinister purpose. People just end up trying to find a way to use it in a different, light, so to speak. Okay, so before we get into Dogecoin, any questions about Litecoin? Light and good. Excellent. Let's talk about Dogecoin then. All right, so how did Dogecoin start? Well, it got started in 2013. Very early on, it was created by software engineers Billy Marcus and Jackson Palmer, and Dogecoin quickly gained a loyal following for its fun and friendly community. It features the Shiba Inu dog from the Doge meme as its mascot. If you're old enough like me, you remember the meme initially, how it was. I think it was just a laughing dog, right? So functionally similar to other cryptocurrencies, Dogecoin operates on a blockchain, enabling secure and fast peer-to-peer transactions. And while initially created as a joke, Dogecoin's popularity surged, driven by online communities, social media campaigns, and even celebrity endorsements. I'm sure you know some of them. It has become known for its charitable endeavors, tipping culture, and community-driven initiatives, embodying a spirit of inclusivity and collective support. We consider Dogecoin the father of meme coins, and has since gained a respectable following built on the foundation that Litecoin provided with its script algorithm. Very interesting, because Dogecoin, right? It's almost like we take it seriously now, but it wasn't serious in the beginning. So how did that happen? And actually, one of the things that I just absolutely love about Dogecoin is because it was so community driven. This is one of those things where you do not underestimate the power of people, right? And Dogecoin is really spearheading that entire initiative. I mean, the reason why we have an entire meme coin market is because of Dogecoin, okay? Just respect where respect is due. Okay, so notable differences, but even similar to Litecoin, of course, Dogecoin is a decentralized cryptocurrency, right? It is being mined just like Litecoin is. It uses the same algorithm. It's literally a fork, okay? It's a hard fork. It's taking the script algorithm from Litecoin and adjusting it with its own parameters, okay? Fast and low cost transactions, right? It boasts faster block times and lower transaction fees compared to many other cryptos. Of course, the community, the biggest, honestly, part of it, is known for its inclusivity, friendliness, and generosity. We also have the virality of Dogecoin. Online communities and social media platforms have played a significant role in shaping Dogecoin's growth and exposure. And charity. Okay, the community actively engages in charitable initiatives, fundraising campaigns, and supporting causes around the world. I love that. Dogecoin has been used for good in many instances. See some of these achievements here. So it's gained actually significant market presence, ranking atop the entire market, chain. I mean, you can even see that Dogecoin's beat Litecoin itself. Okay, it's higher on the ranking system than Litecoin. Litecoin actually, I think, was number 11 last time I checked, and Dogecoin was like number 8 or 7. So, I mean, that's a significant difference. And so it has more usability and adoption in this case than even Litecoin had. But check it out. Doge for Water. In 2014, Dogecoin community raised funds to sponsor the Jamaican bobsled team and provide clean water access to communities in need. Very nice. NASCAR sponsorship gained mainstream attention by sponsoring NASCAR driver John Weiss in 2014, showcasing the reach and influence of the community. And something that was very unique for Dogecoin is this thing called tipping culture. So, you did something, it's kind of like giving a waiter, a tip, right? Oh, let me send you some Doge, right? Doge popularized that concept in cryptocurrency. We also had Saturday Night Live. Elon Musk, Dogecoin landed a special in SNL, which gave a lot of awareness to the cryptocurrency. I believe this was 2021, right? So, taking a look into the tokenomics, token supply for Dogecoin, there was no maximum limit at all, meaning an unlimited number of Dogecoins can be mined. However, there is an inflationary aspect built into the tokenomics where a fixed number of new Dogecoins are added to the supply with each block mined. Okay, so it's going to be, the same amount per block. So block rewards. Miners are rewarded with a certain number of Dogecoins for successfully mining new blocks. Initially, the block reward was a fixed amount of 10,000 Dogecoins per block. However, as of February 2015, the block reward changed to a variable amount based on a formula that decreases the reward over time. So the community kind of came together and said, hey, we actually kind of like this Dogecoin thing. Let's actually do something a little bit more beneficial to people who want to hold it, right? And voila, that's the power of community. We do have an inflationary model where the annual supply of new coins increases by a fixed percentage, which means that the supply of Dogecoin grows over time, albeit even at a decreasing rate. But this inflationary nature is designed to encourage spending rather than solely using it as a store of value. Okay, so the whole point of Dogecoin really nowadays, right? In the beginning, it wasn't anything; it was just a joke, right? But nowadays, Dogecoin is really used more as something to spend with. Okay, which is why you get celebrities like Elon Musk saying this is the currency of the people. Okay, on a small level, daily transactions. Elon Musk is a big fan of that. Let's take a look at some of the transaction fees. Okay, we have very low transaction fees compared to other cryptocurrencies, and these fees are collected by the miners who include the transactions of the blocks they mine, serving as an incentive for network participants to maintain and secure that blockchain. We also have community-driven governance. The tokenomics and development decisions are driven by the community, which we have seen already, right? Even the change in how many Dogecoins are mined per block. We don't have a centralized governing body overseeing the project. Community members actively participate in discussions and contribute to the ongoing development and improvement of Dogecoin. I remember definitely Elon Musk talking about trying to create some sort of governance to help Dogecoin actually be something that is improved significantly over time by a core team, right? So we'll see. This is still something up in the air. We've even seen the prospect of Dogecoin possibly going to proof of stake. I think so far that's been kind of put down. I don't think that's really happening at this time. But these are things that people propose, right? It's how it goes. Somebody comes up with an idea, tries to make a case for it, and the community votes for or against. Accessibility and distribution. Dogecoin aims to promote wider participation and accessibility. Its script mining algorithm allows for mining using consumer-grade hardware, enabling more people to participate in the network. And additionally, Dogecoin's relatively low price per coin and larger supply facilitate microtransactions and broader adoption. Any questions so far? How are we doing, folks? Are we hanging in there? Are we in need of some coffee? I know I started a little earlier today. Okay. So we got some wallets here. Actually, if you haven't checked out the Dogecoin website, you should check it out and look at the different types of wallets they have there. And what I love about it is they have a system of clicking to find which wallet suits your needs. So, for example, these are some of the features that you could check off your list if you're looking for a specific kind of wallet, right? So if you want something with two-factor authentication, right, it's going to tell you can get Dogecoin on a Trezor or Ledger or Exodus, or use Dogecoin Core or BitPay or something like that, right? APIs. So if you want to use Dogecoin for, let's say, your online store, right? You got Coinbase Wallet, Dogecoin Core, Doge Chain as well. Full node. If you want to operate a node, only Dogecoin Core can do that. Okay, that's obviously the core code. So if you want to do that, be my guest. You could also use importing of wallets, right? So if you want to just bring Doge into your wallet that you already have on any one of these, right? XDP, Thor, Dogecoin Core, Garda, Exodus, etc. You can just import a Dogecoin wallet and create one there. Dogecoin Core can also create multi-sig wallets as well. And if you want something that's open source, Trust Wallet, XDP, Dogecoin, Doge Chain, Trezor, these are all open source projects, right? Again, we had just a similar debacle of people saying, oh, Ledger has this thing about ledger recovery, which is a backdoor into your seed phrase, okay? So we'll see what that really turns out, but that inherently doesn't make it open source, right? Because now, if they have access, that's not going to be open to the public's decision. So if that matters to you, open source wallets, here you have them. Okay, and also a tipping bot. This is so cool, right? Dogecoin has this thing called So Doge Tip or My Doge. These are things that people use in order to receive tips in that currency. Okay, you can go to Dogecoin.com and select the wallet you like to use. All right, so why are we talking about Litecoin and Dogecoin? Really, this is the biggest factor, okay? Both of these two currencies can be mined together at the same time. This is something we call merge mining, okay? Two or more currencies at the same time. Here's how it works, okay? You get a shared mining algorithm. Merge mining is possible when multiple currencies use the same mining algorithm or a compatible variant of it. So you have, cryptocurrencies like Namecoin, that's an old one, and OxPow enabled Litecoin share the script algorithm, right? Or in this case, Litecoin and Dogecoin share the script algorithm. Primary and auxiliary chains. So in merge mining, there is a primary chain and one or more auxiliary chains. So in this case, Litecoin is the primary chain that you're actually mining, and then the auxiliary chain would be Dogecoin. So the primary chain is the main one. Now, you also have proof of work submissions. So miners can solve the computational puzzles required to mine blocks on the primary chain, and in the process, they also include a hash of the auxiliary chain's block header as an additional piece of data known as aux proof of work. Now, this aux proof of work serves as evidence that the miner has performed the work for both the primary and auxiliary chains. Now, here's something to also think about, that since you are mining two algorithms, you are using more power for that. Despite the fact that they're actually more efficient being mined as one, okay, but you are generating more power, which is why you'll see Litecoins actually have quite a bit of electrical juice, so to say. Verification of rewards. Miners submit their completed blocks to the primary chain's network, and the primary chain's network then verifies the aux proof of work contained within that block. And if the aux proof of work is valid, the miner is eligible for rewards on both the primary and aux chains. These rewards earned on the aux chain may vary depending on the specific protocol and rules of that chain. Any questions before I move on? Making sense so far, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't have a question.
Yes.
Okay, not too sure, but like, I'm part of a project that I know the wallet they have. Um, the drawback that I see there was that they were not open source. But I'm not certain if it's open
Dogecoin's wallets?
Yeah.
It's just your own wallet. It's self-sovereign. So what you earn from Dogecoin has to be done through something like mining. Okay? So if you're in a different kind of wallet where it's telling you that you're earning something, that means that somebody is putting that in there on a consistent basis. Unless they're mining straight into your wallet directly.
Okay, let's say let me use an example like MetaMask,
Yep.
right? MetaMask, I think from what I do see that they make a profit, a certain amount of profit, 2 years back or so. So how do they make the profits? And if there are, if Doge wallet is out there, does it not make any profits, like from transactions?
So I wanna just separate something very, very, very important here. Okay? Having a wallet does not entitle anybody to profits. Having a wallet is just having a wallet.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So the situation with MetaMask, that is something on a company level that I am not, I don't have an answer for you for. Maybe perhaps it has maybe something to do with advertising or something like that. That it could be that could be the case. But as far as MetaMask making profits for people with MetaMask wallets, that is something completely different, and I don't know anything about that, unless somebody here can educate on that matter. Does anybody else know about that? All right. Well, I'll look into that. It's a curious question, but I don't recall MetaMask ever doing something like that unless they mentioned that it was a specific like airdrop or something of that sort. But MetaMask typically is very, very, very sort of hands off when it comes to people's wallets. They don't keep any of the seed phrases. They don't keep any of that information. So that's a little awkward to me, and I'm wondering where you're getting your source from so that I could look a little bit more into it and see what that situation looked like. Can you DM me later with some of that information?
Sure, I could.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that MetaMask makes profits for holders.
Uh huh.
No, it doesn't. But as a wallet or as a business of its own, they do make profit.
Okay. Oh, Worry Dice actually just put some information here. It's a cryptocurrency wallet that allows users to exchange and store any ETH tokens. Oh, okay. So swap fees, management fees, as well as by selling merchandise via its online store. Okay. So that's, I guess, how it does it. And I guess that makes sense with the swap fees. So if you use MetaMask uh, within the wallet to exchange something, then that's where they take a small cut of whatever you're exchanging. Okay. Any other questions? Now, just to actually go back to the whole Dogecoin wallet thing, I guess here's something that's very different between something like Dogecoin Core or Litecoin Core or Bitcoin Core versus something like a MetaMask, right? MetaMask is inherently a third party wallet, right? So they're going to have extra features in those wallets that they control, right? In this case, for example, the swap that you use in MetaMask. That is not something that you can get with Dogecoin Core or the other ones that I mentioned before. That being because those specific wallets, Dogecoin Core, Litecoin Core, Bitcoin Core, they are native open source to the original chain, right? That's all they're for. They're only for that chain. So, and the whole idea is for it to be sort of like the standard for any wallet that chooses to interact with that chain, right? So if you want to use MetaMask that can interact with a Dogecoin or it can interact with Ethereum, right? They have to implement that blockchain information into their wallet so that you can transact between the two. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. Awesome. Cool. Let's talk about some of the benefits that we get with merge mining. We're almost done here, folks. But miners can utilize their computational power more efficiently, like I mentioned, right? You're mining two algorithms with slightly more power consumption, but you're mining two algorithms at the same time rather than both separately, which would be more power combined if you had the two separate. Security. Also, aux chains can benefit, right? Litecoin has been around longer than Dogecoin. People are still mining Litecoin because Litecoin is still pretty profitable. And it's even more profitable now because we have Dogecoin connected to that. So Dogecoin benefiting from the security of Litecoin's script algorithm and Litecoin benefiting from the profitability of Dogecoin, the two are sort of like synergistic, right? They work together. They make a much more profitable venture for its investors, its miners, etc. People love mining Litecoin. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of projects have actually pivoted from just mining one type of algorithm, and specifically Cadena. Okay, they've been like, oh, we're all in on Cadena. That's great, but then now I've seen several projects actually pivot to mining Litecoin because Litecoin is more profitable in the bear market, and that's cool. Okay, I get it, but don't underestimate Litecoin and Dogecoin. It is still a very profitable coin to mine. It's the most profitable one that we see here. We also have the network effect by allowing merge mining, right? Aux chains can tap into existing networks and infrastructure of the primary chain, potentially gaining more exposure, liquidity, and user adoption. Okay, so it's a benefit to Litecoin and Dogecoin to do this. Finally, our conclusion for the day. Okay, where Bitcoin is considered digital gold, Litecoin is considered digital silver. And through the years, Litecoin has proven itself to be a blockchain that is strong, healthy, and has enhanced itself. Continuous development on this blockchain is ever present, and Litecoin has garnered itself an important contender for individuals and businesses around the world, showing that it can evolve just as much and even more than Bitcoin has. Dogecoin has shown to the Web3 space the power of community. Taking on the role of the father of meme coins is not one to ignore, for it has created an entirely new ecosystem within crypto. So supported by the Litecoin script algorithm, Dogecoin has become even more resilient due to the power of merge mining and has also infiltrated the markets to be used as a spending currency for customers wanting to buy goods and services from business. So mass adoption is one of the biggest hurdles in Web3, and Litecoin and Dogecoin are truly at the front lines. There is my presentation for you guys on Litecoin and Dogecoin. Do we have any, let's open up the floor for another maybe 10 minutes or so. Do we have any comments, any questions, thoughts, feelings? How do you guys think about Litecoin and Dogecoin? Disconnected. It looks like your microphone is on. Did you want to say something?
It was actually a question by somebody else. Somebody else asked if you personally have ever mined either Litecoin or Dogecoin.
Oh, yeah. I mine them right now. Yeah, I've been mining them for like a couple years at this point. I personally mine actually all the cryptocurrencies that you see that we mine here at Zeno. I personally mine them myself. So that includes Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, Cadena, and CKB Nervos.
And
Anybody else? or any unless you want to add to that. Disconnected. That's up to you, brother.
No, just forwarding the questions because apparently you can hear everybody. So there was a question about which setup you use to do that.
Where are these questions taking place, by the way? Are they in the general chat or are they here in the regular?
No, 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 no. No, through the voice channel, but apparently I don't know. You can. It looks like.
Oh,
Everybody.
interesting. Okay. Thanks for saying that because yeah, I may have actually. Hold on.
Yeah, you muted them before, then that mute will still be active, and that way.
I see. Yes. Okay. Yes. That is definitely true. Okay. I just unmuted somebody. I think it was John. Is that the person who was asking?
Yes, I was the one asking.
Okay.
What setups do you use, and which network is easier to kind of maintain from a maintenance standby fee?
Good question. Well, my experience is that Bitcoin is the hardest one to keep stable because it has so much. It's pretty power hungry, and my miners are more sensitive on the Bitcoin network. What I find to be the most stable probably has to be Litecoin, to be honest. Yeah, Litecoin is probably the most stable one. Nervos, the miners that I have for Nervos, they tend to overheat quicker. They're not as efficient on their how would you say, their temperature gauging, And when it comes to Cadena, Cadena is a very close contender to Litecoin. They're like neck and neck for most things, but Cadena tends to go down a little bit more than my Litecoin. My Litecoin tends to be the most stable one out of all three. I typically have a problem with one of my Bitcoin miners like almost every other day. I still have more heat management to take care of, but it's an ongoing process. As far as the miner, go ahead.
I was about to say, is that just GPU, or do you using those small like ASICs or
Yeah,
type of?
I use ASICs. They're easier to maintain. GPUs, they're very finicky, and you really need to have one a big enough space for GPUs, and you have to have like just much more hands-on care and maintenance for those things. Not to mention that a lot of GPU mining kind of went away from the Ethereum merge. So a lot of people were using, GPUs solely for Ethereum. And now they have had to pivot to other, algorithms like Flux or Ergo or, even Ravencoin, things of that nature. We can talk a little bit about that if you want. We can do a GPU mining class and see what that's all about if that intrigues you guys.
No, that's why we're here to Xeno mining, so we don't have to put up with a bunch of that headache.
That is very true. And all of these ones that we're working with are definitely ASICs. Definitely ASICs.
Yeah, that's been my research. That's looking like that's the best way to go as far as like heat management, electricity fees, and just overall price of mining and everything else. Is looking like that's the most economical and kind of the best way to go on a smaller scale.
Yeah. It's not the most efficient miner out there on the market, but I use just like the Gold Shell Box series stuff here at home. It's very residential friendly, and it doesn't take up as much wattage as some of those big rigs do. I mean, it's very hard to do any industrial mining at home. So that's why I'm in Xeno, right? Because I can scale my operations beyond what I do here at home. So I'm there with you, man. Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts or
Yeah, but
questions?
turning your house into a temporary sauna or having to wear earplugs 24/7.
Yeah, yeah, no way. Any other questions or thoughts or comments? We still have about maybe 4 minutes left before I have to get going.
Yeah, just a quick one about Dogecoin not having a supply limit compared to the other coins we're gonna mint.
Yep. What about it?
So how do you think that's gonna affect the price? Because I mean it's inflationary, so in theory, I mean even though they seem to have introduced some mechanisms as to control the supply that enters the market, but still it's I mean it's not a limit like in for Bitcoin like there's 20 million, 21 million coins or the 84 million Litecoin. So yeah, so could I mean
Are you asking what are
worst case I mean
my thoughts on how it's going to play out?
yeah, yeah, because it's basically I mean to a certain degree it's like fiat money, right? That you could just throw some more of it on the market,
Very much
print some
so.
more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very good comparison, right? Using fiat as an example, like, yeah, okay, let's just use the dollar, or let's just use the pound, or every one of these fiats, they have unlimited supply. There's
Yeah,
it,
it's
it.
it sounded very CBDC like and a little scary.
Well, here's the thing. What I think is a benefit. One, beyond the Litecoin, total distribution, Dogecoin will continue to be mineable, so that's good. So it's an incentive for miners to stay on. Two, it all depends on how much we use Dogecoin as a currency, and that really depends on the world's adoption method. If we decide to say, like I predict before, I said, I think at some point in time Bitcoin will become a world reserve currency. That's what I think. But if that happens, Dogecoin could be like just like another, like in a sense, like you mentioned, like another fiat where Dogecoin can be used just for small microtransactions. People can use it just kind of as an everyday expenditure thing. I imagine people using like Dogecoin not really to hodl. Most people who are in the Dogecoin community that are like diehards hodl it, but most people get in Dogecoin because they think they can flip it for a profit because of hype. So it's a very, very hard thing to kind of predict in this. It really depends. Honestly, I think it's important for us to watch people like Elon in this matter, because they're going to kind of determine a lot of that influence. Elon, he claims he wants to send a literal Doge to the moon, so he's probably going to put that on the moon, and I don't doubt him. I think with SpaceX, that is totally something that's in the books. But I mean, hey, anything can kind of happen. I'm certainly not putting all my eggs in Doge. I definitely think that's not a smart idea, but it's good to have on the side while you mine something more stable like Litecoin, because at any point, honestly, Doge could overtake it if it has enough adoption. So I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Almost like a layer two.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was Elon was probably going to use that to be like the monetary transactions on Twitter for paying for Glow and all sorts of other little stuff for NFTs or whatever. So it's looking like that. I mean, if I had to guess, that's most likely the easiest layup I can kind of see coming.
Yeah, I kind of look at the use case of Doge being very similar to. I don't know if you guys have ever used Brave token, right? The BAT token. I see Dogecoin
Yeah,
be.
I got me some bet.
Yeah, I think Dogecoin could be a very similar sort of thing, like BAT, where people will use it. Maybe in the future you'll see it on places like YouTube. use it to subscribe to channels, use it to support influencers. It's very community based, so I imagine it being used very much for the community as well in that kind of regard.
Dogecoin originally was just built as a tipping coin.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah, the purpose for it could be totally like that.
Yep.
I have some buddies here in my area that actually know the guys that started that, and they literally started out
Cool.
in an apartment and had 2 bedrooms loaded fucking miners, and then quickly ended up getting their own pad because it was growing so quickly.
Amazing.
And then, yeah, and then the whole Elon thing started, and then it was just like the race was on. So they ended up having like race car sponsorships way back when.
Yep.
You know, I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
Before the whole Elon thing and all that. So, I mean, they were just pumping it as a tipping coin. And a lot of Japanese and Chinese products and stuff started picking up on it as like a tipping pool kind of thing for websites. So, yeah, totally, it could totally be used for that.
Well, I don't know if you were here early enough, Wake, to see, but we definitely did talk about some of those achievements like NASCAR and Doge for water and all that kind of stuff. Those were all very early on. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And you know, I think right now, I think what we should do is maybe just appreciate Dogecoin for what it is. And, you know, I think, yes, there's some potential for it. I wouldn't speculate too hard on something like Doge. I mean, like, you know, you've heard some success stories for sure, but at the same token, you know, some of these people are very lucky that they didn't lose everything on Doge. Because it's very, very easy to do that too. So, you know, just put in what you're willing to lose if that's the case, you know. But I like mining because I hate, you know, the stress of having to place my money somewhere, and then, you know, if it's not like Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's kind of very, very scary. That's why I get NFTs instead, because I think passive income in currencies like these, A plus, A plus plus. Me just putting my paycheck that I work very hard for every day into this, not necessarily the same. Anyway, I appreciate all of you guys, but I do actually have to get running. So thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, you know, we will continue our discussion. So there's a couple of topics that I have, you know, in my mind. GPU mining definitely is one of them, maybe to expose us to the prospect of doing other kinds of coins. Not necessarily here at Zeno, but since everybody here also has a computer, maybe even just using your one graphics card, you know, having that on the side, mine a little bit here or there. We could talk about that. There's also been some other conversations about wanting to talk about quantum computing, artificial intelligence. I'm also very interested in these kinds of things. So I can absolutely talk about that stuff for upcoming classes. You guys let me know. I will see you soon. Please feel free to tag me in the chat, either in general or whatever, what you'd like to see next, and I'll get on it. Good to see you all. Thanks so much for coming. I'm going to stop the recording now.